And right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick here with Alix Steel, taking you through the closing bell, a global simulcast. It starts right now with Scarlet Fu in the TV studio, Carol Massar and Tim Stenovec in our radio booth as we welcome our audiences across all of our Bloomberg platforms, including our partnership with YouTube. A pretty wild day here, Carol Massar. We came in this morning, of course, all consumed by politics, and we end the day here with a focus here on that rotation and a broadening out of the equity rally.
Yeah, back to the markets, right? Our bread and butter, we go. A lot going on, obviously, in the political world, but we were trying to make sense of it. I think a lot of election watchers would say time will tell. We still have, over 100 days to go before the election. Having said that, once again, I'm drawn to the semiconductor world because I'm looking at some mega outperformance, 3.8% higher on the stocks, the Philadelphia Stock Exchange Semiconductor Index. We get some earnings after the closing bell, but yeah, some real outperformance. I couldn't find any really fundamental news there.
Well, I can't answer that question for you, Carol, but what I can say is what Gina Martin Adams told us a little earlier when it comes to politics and when it comes to markets. It's all about earnings. It's not about politics. It's about earnings this week. Tesla, Alphabet, Chipotle, Coca-Cola, GM,
she said
Ford.
Are phenomenal.
Well, we'll see.
She said earnings so far.
So far, yeah, so far. They have
it's early days, though, right? We can't get too carried away just yet. As well as the semiconductors are doing, I'm kind of impressed with the Russell 2000 this afternoon. In the last 90 minutes of trade, you saw the Russell's trajectory change to something much steeper, and now it's overtaken the NASDAQ composite.
Yeah, absolutely. 8 of the past 10 sessions, we've seen the Russell outperform. That did not look like it was going to be that here on this day, but as Scarlett said, a big push late in the trading session, giving it that edge. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, as well as all of the major indices right now, are finishing the day in the green. More than 100 points higher on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. That's good for about a 0.3% gain. 60 points higher on the S&P 500, 1% up on the day. The NASDAQ Composite higher by about 1.58%, and I'll be that precise here because I do want to talk about that outperformance with the Russell. The Russell closing out the day higher by 36 points, or about 1.7% here on the day, with much of those gains coming in the final 30 minutes of trading.
All right, the S&P 500, guys, we did see most names in the index higher today, 395 names to the upside, and you had 105 to the downside, 3 unchanged, Scarlett.
All right, let's take a look at the sector performers today, and a lot of green on that screen right there. And of course, that's because tech, which is the most heaviest weighted of the different sectors, is up almost 2%. Carol had mentioned semiconductors. Those are the drivers behind the tech group as a whole. Communication services getting a lift from Netflix and Alphabet, and industrials making a late run for it. They're up 1.1%. Your laggards, energy stocks down about 0.75%, and staples are little changed.
All right, guys, to the individual gainers we go. Tesla, this was among your top gainers throughout the day in both the NASDAQ 100 and the S&P. They do report earnings after the close tomorrow. Tesla shares finishing up 5.2% today. Elon did make some comments today about having humanoid robots in low production next year and having high production humanoids for other companies in 2026. But other than that, I couldn't find anything fundamental. Stock, by the way, though, little changed on the year.
What exactly are they going to do?
Humanoids. Humanoid robots.
Does that mean like Romaine and I are replaced by robots?
Bite your lip there.
Maybe. We can't replace you. We can't replace you.
No, probably could, but.
All right. So let's get to the semiconductor space. I talked about it. Scarlett talked about it. Really some outperformance here. On semiconductor, it is top in both the S&P and the NASDAQ 100. The company announcing it signed a multi-year deal with Volkswagen to be a primary supplier of a fully optimized power system solution for the car makers' next generation electric vehicles. So we saw some outperformance there on semi, up 6.7%. Lam Research up 6.6%. Again, a top gainer in these major indices. It reports earnings next week. Again, I couldn't find any specific earnings, so maybe just a bounce back from some of the selling last week. And then NXP Semiconductor, which should report after the close today, up about 5.5% here. So we'll look for some numbers and see what we get out of that in terms of the AI factor. And also, of course, it plays big time into the auto world. Tim, over to you.
Okay, you got the gainers, I got the decliners. I do want to start with CrowdStrike. It finished the day down by 13.5%. It's been down for 5 days in a row, but the 3 days before Friday, we don't really care about. It's the last 2 days that we care about. Down more than 23% over that 2-day period, the worst 2 days in the company's history. All again, shares being weighed down by that continued fallout from a faulty software update from CrowdStrike. At least 2 firms downgraded the stock after the outage. It affected 8.5 million devices that rely on Windows. Westpark Capital expects, quote, long-term aftermath of the incident, and Guggenheim said its downgrade reflects likely resistance to new deals in the near term.
And we should just point out, just real quickly, Tim, the Washington Post just now reporting that the House Homeland Security Committee has summoned George Kurtz, the CEO of CrowdStrike, to testify about the outage.
Okay. Mark your calendars for that one. One of the continued fallout, one of the companies includes Delta Airlines. We saw shares of Delta move lower by more than 3.5% today. The company did say it expects to cancel more flights this week. It's trying to recover from that tech outage. They canceled 800 flights as of this afternoon. The total since Friday's meltdown, 4,600 flights. Delta did say it was working, quote, around the clock to restore operations, with more than half of its worldwide IT systems relying on Microsoft's Windows operating system affected by the software update.
What exactly do they have to do? I mean, why is this taking so long? It's not just a reboot?
Control-Alt-Delete. I don't think it's just Control-Alt-Delete. I don't think that's what it is.
You think it's more complicated than that?
It's not funny. We actually had a guest on who wasn't able to get. He was able to rent a. He was supposed to fly to New York from Indianapolis. He couldn't get on his flight. He could barely rent a car because when he went to the rental car company, they had
that must have been fun.
That wasn't working.
It took Mike McKee 3 days to get home from Jackson Hole.
Why don't you just stay in Jackson Hole, Mike?
3 days.
For a
That's
few
what
days.
I kept telling him. I was like, get a hotel and chill for 3 days.
Just
but apparently,
chill.
the outage is going to have repercussions over the next few days to begin with.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Summer travel plans wreaking havoc on those for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Hey, finally, Verizon. I do want to end with shares of Verizon. Among the worst performers in the S&P 500 today, down 6% on the day. They reported second quarter operating revenue that missed analyst estimates. Fewer people upgraded their wireless equipment. The weak overall growth did mask surprising gains in wireless phone customers and an increase in fixed wireless broadband internet customers. Alex?
All right, taking a look at the bond market here. It was a bear steepener. So you have a sell-off across the curve, but the back end is selling off more than the front end. That's that fancy term. So that spread between 2 and 10s is negative 26 basis points. I do want to point out that we get $144 billion worth of supply this week from the 2, the 5s, and the 7s. So maybe see some pressure on that as well. Carol?
All right, so let's get to some of the stories that are certainly on our radar. One that popped up for us, this is from the Wall Street Journal. Basically, if you've got a 401k, you move to another company and you roll it into an IRA, what happens is you kind of forget about it, and that means you're going to lose a ton of money, right, Tim?
Yeah, if you don't deploy that money and actually invest it, then you miss out on all the gains, of course. So Vanguard crunched the numbers. The Wall Street Journal reporting that Vanguard found that cash-heavy IRAs gave up more than $172 billion a year in retirement wealth that they could have generated by investing in stocks and bonds rather than just leaving it in cash.
Got to roll it into something.
Once you realize those gains, it's really hard to get back in because you're like, I got out kind of near the top. I got to wait for prices to come down. I'm going to buy the dip, but waiting for that dip is a fool's errand.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do sort of wonder, too. I mean, this idea of, like, no one's really checking. Like, that was a big thing that struck me about. I don't know, maybe I'm just obsessive, like checking it, pretty frequently. But it's just kind of weird that somebody's sitting there for months, if not years, and they haven't actually looked. But
That's what scares me. Like, I always think it's rolled over, so I don't understand what the problem is. So here's another fun thing. If you did roll it over and you did wind up having more money, maybe you can spend it at Harvard. So apparently there is a $12,000 4-day class where celebrities are fighting to get into, and it's like a 4-day class that you can go to, and apparently people want to go there and do it to say that they went to Harvard. I don't know.
Well, it's being taught by this professor, this expert on branding and marketing, and she uses a lot of real-life examples, and so they want to be in on this class and get kind of the secrets. But what's so interesting in all of this is so many people who take the class then go on social media and they're like, I got into Harvard.
I know, but then again, if it was a CUNY, would it have the same cachet?
Wait.
For $12,000?
So execs from Hollywood and Madison Avenue, stars such as Channing Tatum and LL Cool J have signed up hoping to build the next celebrity business empire. So she's helping them, I guess, to build out their branding. It's just kind of wild.
Well, you got
Don't
case
you have
studies.
agents and things for that?
You got case studies that include Beyonce, David Beckham. I think it was Lindsey Vonn who got The Rock to write her recommendation to get into the class.
Oh my God. Recommendation to get into the class?
That doesn't hurt, right?
Wow, I don't know what to say. You call The Rock and you're like, hook me up with this, and here's $12,000 for a 4-day
Wait,
class.
The Rock writes recommendations.
Hey, maybe he writes them, maybe you write it, and then The Rock signs it. The Rock. Does he sign it The Rock or Dwayne The Rock Johnson?
Dwayne Johnson.
Okay.
How do you think Romaine got this job?
That's right. Yeah.
The Rock recommended him?
No, it was actually Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
Well, could you just say that again? All right, I guess that's a wrap. All right, our cross-platform on this Monday, radio, TV, YouTube, Bloomberg Originals. We call it the closing bell. We will see you same time, same place tomorrow. And Alix, you're heading out, but no worries. She's going to be back with us tomorrow as well.